good people. Week 1 in the NFL season is here, and as a result, we're bringing you a very special edition of the Cheesesteaks Intakes podcast show on this Tuesday evening, where I, Colby Marshall, am joined by co-host Troy Marshall, Chuck Butler, Noah Butler, and Drew Butler. But today, we're also very happy to be joined by two big-time NFL fans with what we would consider on this podcast a very questionable allegiance to an NFL team. They're both big-time Dallas Cowboy fans. Chuck's buddy from work, from Apple Incorporation, Jeremiah, and my father's buddy, Ray, longtime friend. But, you know, them being Cowboy fans is a discussion for another day because their Cowboys are getting ready to play our Eagles, you know, this Thursday on opening night. So we couldn't be more excited to have the both of them on this episode to talk about that matchup while also providing an in-depth behind the scenes viewpoint on what it's like being a Cowboys fan, since we cannot relate to that. So, gentlemen, it is a pleasure to have you guys on, and very much looking forward to this conversation. I want to start with the both of you. I want to ask Ray, since you were here first, how did you become a Cowboys fan, and talk about, you know, what that was like growing up for you, and, you know, what that was like.
Okay. So basically, you can blame it on Tony Dorsett. I grew up a huge Tony Dorsett fan. That number 33 was like, you know, all I could see is that star number 33, and that was the guy I followed. And back then, it's kind of weird because you didn't realize that you weren't rooting for a local team as a kid because they were always on TV. So all you knew was Tony Dorsett and the Cowboys for me, and they were always on TV. So as I got older, then I realized, like, wait a minute, this is a rivalry here. Because my second favorite running back was Wilbur Montgomery. But
from the Eagles, right?
For the Eagles, right. So, and he was, I believe he was 33 also.
31.
No, he was 31.
Okay, correction. He was 31, but, you know, so my allegiance was to Tony Dorsett, and that's kind of how I became a Cowboys fan.
Hey, Ray, let me ask you a question. Growing up in Trenton, in the Trenton area, in Ewing, were there a lot of Cowboy fans along with you?
So my cousin, he was a Cowboys fan also.
Okay.
But outside of that, it wasn't a lot at that time.
Mm-hmm.
So, like in my circle, there wasn't a lot of Cowboys fans besides my cousin. You know, there were some Steelers, of course, Eagles. You know, those were like the three main teams as far as in my area with you know, within my circle. But my cousin and I, we were like the only two. We had some Giants fans also, of course.
Okay.
But in my circle, mainly it was just my cousin and I.
Right. I have to say, though, when I hear people say, hey, they were always on TV, that's why I rooted for them. I just want to, like, fight them when they say that. We grew up in the same area, and we kind of saw this. Yeah, so I just have a problem with all those Cowboy fans. In the era we kind of grew up, I would call Ewing South Jersey, right? Would you call it South Jersey?
You can say that.
Okay, yeah. So you should be.
If you went to
the Giants or the Jets, I would even consider. Okay, I can live with that. But a Cowboy fan growing up in New Jersey, that's a sore subject for me.
Right. So the only reason I brought up that they were always on TV, it was because if I didn't get to see him often, that probably would have changed, because at that time I was a kid. So for me, being able to see him play a lot, I didn't even think about they're not a local team. Philly is the local team. It was just number 33. He was always on TV. So, but if they weren't on TV that much, I'm sure I would have became an Eagles fan.
Got it.
That's crazy.
It's not too late, Ray. Ray, it's
not
too late.
It is. You know, I'm not a Jerry fan, so I consider it, but it's in my blood.
We can't go. We're going to get into Jerry a little bit. We're going to get into him.
It's in my blood. So
I hear you.
How good were those Cowboy teams? Were they just teams that had players that you really enjoyed watching, or were they also winning games, going to the Super Bowl? Were those years where they were, you know, really competitive?
They were good. When I really, so besides Tony, I started like my favorite quarterback back then was Danny White. He was like the quarterback. He also used to punt, but I liked guys on defense like Randy White, Too Tall Jones, Jeff Coates. So we were good. We had a couple we had 2 Super Bowls back then, maybe one, and then we lost one.
They were great, and I think I would rather, like, when I hear Cowboy fans say who aren't from Dallas say, "Hey, they were on TV all the time." If you just said, "Hey, they were really good," and I just rooted for them, I would have a little more respect.
And I can't. You know what, Chuck?
They were really good. They were really good.
Yeah, they were good, but that's like I said, it was a Tony Dorsett thing, and they happen to be good also. So
yeah, I get it.
Yeah.
All right. I'll throw it to Jeremiah. Jeremiah, you're also a big time Cowboys fan. Talk a little bit about how you got into rooting for Dallas and what that was like for you growing up.
Obviously I'm from Connecticut, so it's funny enough is that a lot of my other teams are Boston. I'm a Celtics fan, I'm a Bruins fan, I'm a Red Sox fan. But when it came to football, my family, at least my immediate family, were Cowboys fans, and that's the team that, I watch, every Thanksgiving. It's the team that always had we always had the memorabilia, and at a young age, I was like, I'm a Cowboys fan. When you're really young, you just kind of go with the flow, and I'm not somebody who's gonna ever bandwagon. So, when I was younger, it was funny enough. My mom would always say, because she didn't really follow too closely, she's like, why don't you just be a Patriots fan? Like, you're Boston, everything else, you might as well. And I was like, nah, I can't. I can't do that. Dad would be mad. My brothers would be mad. I have 3 older brothers. They're all Cowboys fans. I really can't do that. So that's kind of how I got into it. My first real, watching it and understanding is when we had Quincy Carter as our quarterback, and that was some dark times, and I guess they've stayed dark, ebbs and flows. But I remember watching like DeMarcus Ware, like that 2005 draft class was something else. We had like Marcus Spears, you had Jay Ratliff, so we had like a really good solid. I remember watching like Marion Barber, man, he was like beast mode, before beast mode. So like that's kind of like my memories watching the Cowboys. And like I said, like a lot of times you enter in a household that you grow up and you're watching it. And I'm never going to be a bandwagon fan. So ever since I was young, I was like, well, this is what I am. I remember for like my 9th birthday, I had a Cowboys football as the cake. So that's just what it is.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's you said you'll never be a bandwagon fan. I think Cowboy fans are the epitome of bandwagon. So I do find it interesting. However,
not one's my age. Not one's my age.
That's true. That's true. You haven't really seen a lot of success. But I do give, unlike Ray, I love you, man, but I give Jeremiah just a little bit of slack because in Connecticut it's a little different. Like because there's no really pro sports teams in the state. There's so many different fans. There are a lot of Cowboy fans though. There are a lot of Steelers fans here. But because there's no like allegiance to, there's no like regional allegiance like where we grew up. They're just a whole fan, so I kind of get it. When I don't have like the same hate when I see a Connecticut Cowboy fan as I have like when I go home or I see someone in Philadelphia or see someone in Jersey where I want to really like hurt them. At least I don't here in Connecticut, and me and Jeremiah talk sports all the time. Granted, he's younger and he's twice as big as me, so I can't hurt him. But it's still I don't have the same kind of like anger when I see someone outside of Dallas rooting for a Cowboy fan when I see him in Connecticut.
Listen, I'm 30, and you got to understand, I just turned 30 in June, and since I've been alive, the Cowboys have not made it to an NFC Championship game, so I don't know what that type of success looks like. Yeah. This is the new. I'm a new age Cowboys fan.
Okay, and that's great. But Jeremiah, you still a Cowboys fan. So do you still claim those 5 titles when you're talking smack to other people? When you're talking smack to Chuck, are you
Nah,
still saying
I don't really bring up
okay?
glory days that I didn't live
Okay,
through.
that's good. I like to hear that.
Yeah, that's not my vibe. The 70s and the 90s. It's great to be like, oh, Michael Irving, and like I wasn't here for Emmitt Smith. Like
Yeah.
Ooh,
I
yeah,
wasn't here for that. So
yeah.
I can't do that. And a lot of times too, like in Connecticut, there's a lot of Patriots fans, and you can't really say that up to a
Yeah,
Patriots
that's
fan.
true.
They lived
Right.
through multiple Tom Brady dynasties,
Yeah.
basically.
Mm-hmm.
Just on that note, and quickly, like when I first moved to Connecticut, there were barely any Patriots fans. We got here in 90, Drew, I think 95 in ish,
Mm-hmm.
and there were barely any Connecticut fans. And then Tom Brady came along, and all of a sudden there are tons of them. So, I mean, I don't hate him for it. It is like the area. You should be a Patriots fan if you live here. But a lot of them are kind of bandwagon-y, I would say. They're good fans now. They have no choice. But when I first got here, there were none. If I can
Yeah.
ask a question real quick, I just want to know. So, Jeremiah, when we found out about the Micah trade, we embraced. I know you were very upset. Um, I just want both of you guys, Ray and Jeremiah, like, what was your initial reaction? And now that you've had some time to kind of think about it, how do you feel about the trade after a few days has, gone by? Whoever wants to go first.
I can start. I was shocked. Of course, I never wanted to see Parsons get traded. I never thought he would be traded because at the end of the day, no matter what kind of issue we were having in Dallas, Jerry would, eventually sign his guys. So I thought he would be back. So I was initially shocked and upset and disappointed. Um, but as it went on after a couple of days and hearing all these stories, I still would not trade Parsons. But there's a couple of things that did like make me say, like one, some of the big games he really didn't show up. He had like one sack in like 4 or 5 playoff games. And then, so that was kind of like, because it was always Dak, Dak, Dak. And Dak didn't show up either. But sometimes when your quarterback is struggling, you need your defense to step up and kind of, you know, right the ship a little bit until the offense gets going. And I didn't really see that from Parsons in the playoffs. With that being said, I still would have signed him. So I'm not saying I wouldn't have signed him. But also, from what I'm hearing, Jerry did offer the 40 million. I don't know if I would have set the market at 47 because at 40 million he would have still been the highest paid defensive player, I believe. But now I'm hearing, so to sign him at 47, we would have had to set the market again. And it's like we set the market with Elliott, we set the market with Dak. Like we can't keep setting
Twice.
the market. We can't keep setting the market with these players because if those are your 3 main cores, CD, Dak, and Parsons, you still have to build a team. And I don't know how you do that with just those 3 players because we didn't draft well.
Yeah, just on that note, like there's no state tax in Texas. I'm curious like what that looks like. No one has the answer for that right now, but what that
Well,
looks like compared to like Wisconsin. Like
so from what I've heard, it's like it may have been like even though he got 47 million, it may have been like a 3 million gap.
mm,
So if he would have stayed in Dallas and signed that 40.5 and the gap between that 47 with the no state tax in Texas is I think was roughly around 3 million. I could be a little off on that.
yeah, I mean that sounds about right.
Yeah.
The thing that gets me is that Parsons would have been happy making 30 million, 35 million if he had signed a year earlier. Like he was willing to sign a year earlier. I don't understand why Jerry continues to take this stance when it comes to contracts and his star players. Like why does he wait? I don't know if you guys have any insight on that. But to me, that's the biggest issue. Dak
Totally agree.
Dak shouldn't be the highest paid quarterback right now. He should have been when he signed 2 years ago. CeeDee Lamb should have been the highest paid receiver when he signed, if they signed him 2 years ago.
Yeah.
But not last year.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Me and Jeremiah
He
talk
doesn't-
about that.
And it's like we all play basketball or whatever. There comes a point in time where you get on the court and you're saying to yourself, I shouldn't be on this court because of how I'm playing or because of how the game around me is being played. Jerry,
I've never said that. I've never said that. On the record.
Okay, go on the court tomorrow. Jerry is playing a game that's no longer being played, and he doesn't seem to understand that. And listen, to say he's senile, that's I wouldn't use that term.
Jeremiah, I want your.
But there's a cognitive decline in Jerry Jones in the way he handles his business.
I agree. And Jeremiah, I do want your take on that, but I do have to ask, when you heard that, both you and Ray, when you heard that Jerry had cancer, were you rooting for cancer?
Dude, come on.
Jeez, Chuck.
Were you rooting for cancer to?
Yo, shut his mic off, please. Shut his mic off now.
Listen, I hope Jerry lives forever. I hope he lives.
Drew, get your father.
I hope he outlives me. I hope he really does. But yeah, Jeremiah, what was your reaction to the trade, and what do you think of it now?
I mean, my reaction was shock. My best friend texted me. He said, "Parsons to the Packers?" ? And obviously, we both were working that day. And I've heard the rumors that potentially that could be in one of the teams that, it kind of happened pretty quickly. At first you start listening to the beat writers talking about, well, they're taking calls and trading is an option. And it happened so quickly, and then you hear that, I hear it, and I'm like, damn, well, that sucks. You lose your best player on your team. Nobody wants to lose their best player on their team. Mm-hmm. Not for 2 firsts, and a nose tackle that can stop the run, but he's 30, and who didn't perform very well last year. So I think my initial reaction was shock, but also not surprised, because as a Cowboys fan, I live in Jerry's world. And Jerry's world is the glitz and the glamour. It's the maybe we're not relevant on the field, so let me stir some things up. This offseason, this man said this is a soap opera. Like, this is what he cares about. He wants the Cowboys to be known. We're the richest company. We're the richest sports team in the world. And, to Jerry, I don't think Jerry cares whether we win another Super Bowl or not, because we're always talking about the Cowboys. You go on to FS1, you go on to ESPN, no matter how bad the Cowboys are doing, they're talking about the Cowboys. Mm-hmm. That's what Jerry wants. And when I think about it now, I laugh about it because I think it was the poor choice, because what's your hope? Your hope is, okay, I have 2 first-rounders, and you hope to get a young elite pass rusher on your team. Oh, wait, you just traded that person away to Green Bay of all. Like, if it wasn't going to be the Eagles or the Commanders, or the Giants, why did it have to be the Packers? Mm-hmm. I hate the Packers so much. Yeah, 2014, you can't convince me that Dez didn't catch the damn ball.
I'm telling you, the NFL still doesn't know what a catch is in 2025. It's ridiculous.
So we made a poor choice. $47 million is a lot of money, but I don't think it would have been $47 million. I think that if you probably couldn't have signed him last year, unfortunately, because you had the dispute with Dak and CD. So you probably couldn't have signed Parsons last year because you were too busy with other ones, because once again, Jerry takes forever in negotiations. Okay. Mm-hmm. But also, if I'm a player and I know how Jerry operates, maybe I don't sign early, because I know that I can have. I know that I can have Jerry for whatever I want.
Yeah.
Right. Dak
honestly,
took him to the woodshed twice.
Yeah.
100%.
Twice.
$60 million for Dak, right? And
Yeah.
Dak is still the highest paid QB. The second ones are $55 million. So no one's even close to the $60 million a year. So like, if you're a player, if I played for the Dallas Cowboys, I don't want to get signed early.
Fair
Good
point.
point.
Good point. That's a good point.
Fair point.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Can't hear you.
I don't know
Okay.
about Drew and Noah, but that was my initial reaction when I heard the trade, a point that Jeremiah made in regards to what they got back and how it just didn't seem like it was enough. I know that it was Kenny Clark, like you mentioned, and I think they got another nose tackle back. I'm not positive, but it was interesting what Jerry Jones also said. He said that, and I know it's BS to an extent after the trade happened, but that they want to stop the run. But it's like you can stop the run with Micah Parsons on your team. So those are my two biggest drawbacks from or initial reactions from the trade. I don't know what you thought, Noah.
I didn't expect him to get moved at all. I just don't think a player like that. I think you just give them like a blank check, however much they want at that point. I would love to have Mike Parsons on the Eagles. I would probably, if Jerry Jones was the owner of the Eagles,
I'd shoot myself.
I feel like the Philly fans would have like rushed the Eagles facility and killed them themselves.
That's a good point.
Listen, I don't know if I would want. Listen, he's talented. He's the best defensive player in the league, but I would have some type of trepidation about bringing him into the locker room. I don't know if everybody in Dallas's locker room like Micah Parsons.
That was my question. That's a good point, Troy.
Team Parsons.
I think you also got to consider how much he was going to get paid to, $47 million.
Yeah.
Like, you're getting paid an exorbitant amount of money, and considering the draw, not even just the draw, but the feedback you get on the field.
Yeah. Dak beats us when he's
Dak
healthy.
has a good
Yeah, Dak
game
has a
against us.
record.
Yeah, Dak is 9-4 against the Eagles.
Yeah, so like they have a track record, right? So Michael Parsons, I think when it translates with the Cowboys, it seems like his success, I wouldn't say is selective, but for $47 million, is that enough for the Cowboys to consider to keep them on the team? I think it's a very mixed message. I think Michael Parsons could be an asset to the Cowboys, but I could also say, like, if I'm the richest company, franchise in the NFL, I could afford to someone else. So I think it really just depends on who you're rooting for. If I'm a Cowboys fan, I think it makes sense to keep Parsons. Me as an Eagles fan, I'm not mad that he left.
Mm-hmm.
Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yeah.
Getting back to Troy's point real quick. What you guys are closer to the situation than we are. Was he like not a good teammate? Did the players not like him in the locker room?
He rubbed some people the wrong way.
Mm-hmm.
He has a weekly podcast.
Mm-hmm.
I know him and DeMarcus Lawrence, didn't necessarily see eye to eye. I think maybe some people felt like he maybe had a little bit of immaturity issues. I mean, he was 26. But I mean, a lot of players may have your star and best players besides the QB, because you want the QB to be the adult in the room, your QB. Like a lot of the star young players they're diva-ish, like a lot of times you have a star wide receiver that may be a diva. I think his talent and his work ethic, because Micah Parsons, he worked hard. Like he wasn't like, yeah, he likes to do a podcast. Maybe he talks a lot, maybe that, but like he was a hard worker. And I think that sometimes you make, exceptions for excellent, players.
Mm-hmm.
His first 4 seasons, 12 sacks in each season. Like you want that from your pass rusher. Like you want an elite pass rusher. That's one of the, you want a great left tackle, you want a star QB, and you want an edge rusher. He's one of those guys. So yeah, he maybe rubbed some people the wrong way, but I think that in a lot of cases for NFL teams, when you're elite at your position and what you do, you put up with more.
Yeah. So
Yeah, I think Jimmy
oh,
Johnson started that.
mhm.
In a way, I'm sure it started before him, but he was pretty upfront back in the day saying that some players get exceptions if they're really good. And I think a lot of teams followed that blueprint. What were you
What were you
about to
going
say,
to say,
Ray?
Ray?
Back to what Troy said about the locker room. Um, Diggs has said something today, I think, that kind of echoed those sentiments about D-Law's guys and Micah's guys. And I don't know how true that is, but if that's the case, like you can't really have that. Like we need to be on one accord. I'm not sure what was going on in the locker room, but we're hearing a lot of stuff come out, and it could be because he got traded. I don't know, but the comments I heard today from Diggs was kind of referring to like it was like us versus them, kind of between D-Law and Parsons. So that's why they had that big falling out. Because he also had an issue with, I don't know if you remember, Jeremiah, he had an issue with Hooker, also the safety, regarding that podcast. So I think that podcast rubbed people the wrong way. I'm not a fan of that. I like podcasts. I want us to do that. But my players, I'm an old head. I want you to play. I don't want Paul George having a podcast. I'm not with the NFL or pro athletes podcast during the season. That's just me. And he had, like, after we lost to Green Bay a month later, he had Love on his podcast.
Oh, really?
It's like, I'm still mad. Like, as a fan, like, you should be mad, and you got him on your podcast. Like, what are we doing? So, but that's just my opinion because I'm an old head with that stuff. So, but I do think that there was something going on in that locker room. I don't know if it was big enough for me to trade him, but
Right.
I think there definitely was, where there's smoke, there's fire, and I think there was definitely something going on in the locker room.
I remember when Micah first requested a trade, there were a lot of Cowboys players backing him. I saw on social media making their profile picture a picture of. I'm pretty sure I saw CD do that.
Right.
I forgot who else did that, but he made his profile picture on Twitter a picture of him and Micah together. So, and regarding the podcast, I get it. I don't really want people on my team having podcasts and stuff, but it's a new generation of stuff.
Absolutely.
New generation. He probably makes a bunch of money off that. And when you watch him on the field, Micah's he's 100% every play when I see him.
That's a really good point, Noah.
Yeah, it doesn't affect his play on the field at all.
Player
Yeah,
like that, you just don't let go of that. I'm pretty sure he's 6. I heard that he's 6 all time and sacks in their first 4 seasons or something like that.
Yeah.
You don't let that leave for little. Just because Jerry wanted as much power as he could have, he just wanted to impose his power on him.
That's a good point. If to compare him to Paul George, and Paul George on podcast, Paul George, he's just not performing well right now. So I don't mind it as much. I'm kind of in between. I know what you mean, Ray. I'm kind of old school like that as well. But if the players are performing, I don't mind as much.
And I think it's good for players to have a voice.
Yeah.
Back in the day,
it is. But to the earlier point, if he gets on his podcast and he starts criticizing his teammates, then that's stepping over the line.
Really, I never listened to the podcast. Was he doing that occasionally?
Not directly,
Right.
but he might talk about poor effort, after a game and realize what the defense may not have done, and that rubs players the wrong way because that they want them to stay in house. Which is kind of a little bit surprising from Cowboys players, just because this is the circus, when you go to the Star, the players are right there, they're working out, and they have tours on the Star, and the players are hella accessible, and they're there, and it's a little bit surprising, but I mean they are still professional athletes, and you get an ego hit when it's dang, my star player, my supposed leader of the team is talking about how bad we are, like for the world. And like we know we were bad. We know we didn't perform well that game, but it still probably stings to have your best player say it for millions.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point, Jeremiah. And it really comes down to what's talked about on the podcast, who's doing it. Like that player has to perform, like you guys said. Like we've also seen Amon St. Brown on the Detroit Lions do a podcast, really good podcast, and he's one of the top wide receivers in the NFL. So you're not going to question anything he does, anything a guy like Micah Parsons does outside of the field, because on the field they're going to perform. And speaking of performances on the field, want to get into this week's game, gentlemen. Eagles-Cowboys Thursday night. Want to talk to you first, Ray. Hear your opinions on the game. What are you expecting? How are you feeling? Hearing anything coming out of Cowboys camp, maybe some rookies that you're excited to watch, but what's your take on, this game against the Eagles? How do you think it's going to play out?
For me, Kobe, I'm looking at the trenches. I want to see, we have a young offensive line. I want to see how they respond to you guys, D-line, that's those two studs in the middle. Our three interior linemen are very young. I mean, our tackle, our left tackle is young, so we have a young offensive line. So I want to see the trenches, and I want to see with the acquisition of our new D tackle, like what they do against the run. If they're able to slow down, because you're not going to stop the Eagles running game. But I just want to see if they could at least slow them down. I mean, we were like, I don't know, 31st or 32nd against the run last year. Like that's
Ray.
I heard one of your podcasts before where Chuck was saying he felt like we may make the playoffs. I wouldn't be surprised if we made the playoffs, but I wouldn't be surprised if we didn't, because there's a lot of question marks when it comes to our O-line, our defensive line, our secondary. I like our linebacker core. I think they'll get stronger once they get healthier. So we don't have, we got to see which running back steps up. Then I want to see, this new wide receiver core, So I don't know. For me, as a Cowboys fan, there's a lot of question marks. Do I feel like the Eagles will win? I do. But if I can walk out of that game and it's a close game and we lose, I'll still feel good. I just don't want to walk away with you guys blowing this out, So, but for me, there's a lot of unknowns with the new coaching staff. I don't know what to expect from this team. I'm excited to watch them, but I really don't know. I really don't know what to expect. But I'm looking forward to seeing the trenches. I just want to say one thing before Jeremiah goes. The Eagles defense, I heard this today. They were number 1 in the league in 3 and outs. So that's impressive.
Before Jeremiah goes, Ray, I'm glad you acknowledged the fact that I did have the Cowboys. I did have that take. I thought the Cowboys would make it to the Super Bowl.
It's a horrible take.
They would make the playoffs. Not making the Super Bowl. Sorry, make the playoffs. It's a terrible take now, but
it's a terrible take simply because you talked about the Cowboys on our first podcast about Philly sports. But anyway, go ahead. You finish.
Well, they are the first team that the Eagles were playing for the season. Like that was appropriate.
It's a strong word, appropriate.
But that offense, I mean, the passing, you have to admit the passing game's elite. The running game, they need help with the running game. And before Micah's not there anymore, and that back seven is not very strong. But they had the best defensive player in the conference on defense with an elite passing offense. Why not? And my argument was, and again, it was a take. I'm telling I'm not. This is part of podcasting. You throw out hot takes. If you look at since they changed the playoff format, 3 new teams have made the playoffs every year in each conference. 6 new teams have made the playoffs. Why couldn't it have been Dallas? So that was my initial take. Now things have changed. So maybe I'm taking that back, but that offense scares me a little bit. So Jeremiah, you can take it from there, but that offense does scare me a little bit.
Yeah, let me give you some of my my tales of the tape for this upcoming game.
Okay, here we go.
Here's the stats. You know, in the last 25 opening games, the Super Bowl winner has won 20-5. I think the Eagles should win, and the Eagles should win comfortably. I would be surprised if the Eagles do not win by at least 2 touchdowns. The Eagles have the best running back in the league, have an elite offensive line. They have 2 number 1 receivers. And, you know, what I might think about Jalen Hurts, you know, Jalen Hurts has proven that on the biggest games, on the biggest stages, he will perform. So I do think that the Eagles will win. For me, a Cowboys moral victory would be within a score. If the Cowboys can be within a score, you know, I won't feel too terrible about that. Here's a couple of things that I'm a little bit worried about for the Cowboys. We have new coaches. We have a new head coach, Schottenheimer, who's never been he's never been a head coach in this league before. You know, he's been an offensive coordinator a couple of times. We have a new offensive coordinator, Clayton Adams, offensive coordinator. He was offensive line coach for the Cardinals last year. So, you know, you got a new offensive line coach. You got a new defensive coordinator. We got Matt Eberflus, who was the Bears head coach last year. So we have a whole new coaching staff. So when Chuck is at work telling me that, listen, this team, you have an offense that's elite. And I'm over here telling him, I don't know what this offense is going to be. I don't know what this offense is going to be. I don't know how plays are going to be called. I don't know how the offense is going to flow. You know, I am happy about the Pickens deal, but that's a 1-year rental. And the question is, do you pay Pickens? I mean, you have the money now to pay Pickens. But fun fact, Pickens has the same agent that Micah has.
Yeah. Yes, he does. What are we doing?
So if who knows? Like, if I'm Pickens, I'm definitely waiting, and you know, we'll see how that goes. You know, I think we have a couple of rookies that I'm excited to see. I think our running game is pretty bad. You know, we got 2 running backs. You know, Jadon Blue is from the 5th-year dude out of Texas. He has like some juice to him. I'm definitely excited to see what he could be. But, you know, in front of him is Miles Sanders, who, you know, the Eagles are familiar with, who had his best season behind that offensive line. And, you know, Javonte Williams, I'm not really a fan of. Both of them didn't even rush for over 4 yards per carry last year. So I'm not necessarily excited about that. We have secondary woes. I'm not quite sure if Trayvon Diggs will play on Thursday. You know, he was a full participant today in practice. That's probably a game time decision.
What's his issue, Jeremiah?
He is a knee.
Oh, okay.
He blew out his knee again. And then Dak, you know, you like to bring up Dak as we have an elite offensive Dak. Dak didn't perform well last year. And he was 11-8. You know, even before like the hamstring and he was done, he did not perform well. The Cowboys offense did not look good. And you bring up this 2023 where Dak performed at an MVP level. He did, but you're only as good as your last season. He's 32 years old. I have no clue if I'm going to get the 2023 Dak or I'm going to get the 2024 Dak. So it's hard for me to just say, oh, like this offense is going to be elite. I am going to learn more about the Cowboys during halftime of this Thursday game than I do all of training camp. We didn't play our starters during, like, you know, preseason. I'm going to learn so much after 30 minutes of football. I'm going to learn, is this too big for Schottenheimer? I'm going to learn about this defense. I'm going to learn, can we rush the passer? This is a great offensive line to understand. Can you rush the passer, right? Lane Johnson is a future Hall of Famer. Can we have someone that can give him any type of fits? And the answer right now would have been Micah, but obviously we don't have Micah. So I'm not too optimistic about this game. I'm definitely excited to see. I miss football. I'll watch every Cowboys game, no matter how good or bad we are. But this should be a pretty easy Eagles victory. Saquon is going to eat our defense alive. He's going 150, 2 touchdowns. If you into betting, that's probably an easy win.
I can't believe I'm defending the Cowboys. This is craziness.
Maybe you're the crazy one.
Maybe I'm the crazy one.
Dude, let me ask you guys a question. Do you think Dak, earlier in our first podcast, Chuck had mentioned that he thought Dak was going to throw for like 4,000 yards. Do you guys
He
agree with
does.
that?
That's what he does that every year.
If he
Go
stays
ahead.
healthy, if he
If he
stays
stays
healthy,
healthy.
this offense, he could put up 5,000 yards. We're gonna be playing from behind most games. So
If he plays 17 games, he's throwing for 4,000 plus yards.
if he stays
It happens
healthy, and
every
that's a
year.
big if because we talk like Dak kind of is a little bit injury prone now. Like I said, he's 32.
He definitely
I
is.
think he's the fifth oldest starting QB in the league.
Yeah.
Right.
Like Dak is not young.
No.
32
not
years
young.
old.
His body's probably
shoulders, a hamstring.
Yeah.
He's hurt. Like I don't know what I'm gonna get from Dak. And like I said, you could bring up 2023 all you want. He had a great season, regular season, but collapsed against the Packers. Like 2024, he did not look good. So I just don't know. We didn't see any of preseason. He doesn't play the preseason. And of course, during training camp, you look great when you're in shells and you're throwing deep to Pickens. And CD is elite. But like once the game starts, we'll see.
Yeah, just real quick on Dak. I think that for me, I agree. I think this is a make it or break it year for Dak. But I will say this is the best receiving core he's had since CD and Amari Cooper. So we really never had a number 2 receiver, and that's if you look at all the good teams, except for if you got Patrick Mahomes back there or something. But a lot of these teams have 2 good wide receivers, and Dak. Look, he needs pieces. That's the bottom line. He's not that guy that's just going to go carry a team. He needs pieces also. So I agree, but I'm looking at this year like, all right, Dak, there's no excuses. You got 2 studs. Let's see what you do.
We'll definitely see Thursday. I personally think special teams for the Eagles is going to be something to watch. I didn't love how they looked during the preseason in special teams, and Kevontae Turpin, he's a game breaker over there for Dallas. So I think that's going to be a important part of the game. But you guys make great points. Kind of want to throw it to Chuck. I want to hear your opinion on the game. Any predictions that you might have for Eagles-Cowboys?
Well, I think when Philly and Dallas play, I think you can throw out the records to me. I think it's going to be a closer game than you guys think. First game of the season, I think just Philly not being familiar with Schottenheimer's style, I think is going to be something that's going to like throw a monkey wrench into their plans. It may even take them a half to kind of figure things out. I don't think it's going to be as easy as you guys may think. At the end of the day, I think the Eagles will win the game. I think they'll cover. I think the point spread right now, it went up from 6.5 to 7.5. I think they'll cover. But maybe from a late touchdown, they'll run out the clock. But at the end of the day, I just think it's going to be a NFC East battle. First game of the season, everyone's going to be pumped up, and the Eagles will win. But I think it's going to be a lot closer. They'll cover, but I think at the end of the day, I think the game throughout the game is going to be a close game until the end.
Dad, biggest thing to watch for this game on Thursday. What do you think for the Eagles?
Biggest thing to watch. I'm curious to see what their offense looks like with the new coordinator. I'm curious to see if he keeps a lot of the plays, formations. He basically just keeps everything the same from last year, or he puts his own wrinkle in it. I would like to see him put his own wrinkle in it. I wasn't really the biggest Kellen Moore guy. I thought sometimes his offense could be very vanilla. So I'm curious to see what the offense looks like with the new coordinator. That's what I'm going to be looking at.
And what about you, Noah?
I'm hoping that we pass the ball more this year in general. I feel like Saquon, he had like 300, like almost 350 touches last year. That's just not sustainable. I think we should tone that down. I feel like Jalen Hurts is showing that we could trust him at this point. We could just put the ball in his hands a little more. I trust him. But the Eagles, I feel like we do start off slow sometimes, especially like first game of the season, because Sirianni never plays the starters, at least on offense, in the preseason. So maybe we'll start off slow at the first half, and I'm also wondering what our second boundary corner is going to be like. Like, did they even announce who's starting?
I think it's Dory Jackson.
Dory Jackson, I think.
Like,
but it's going to be, but that side is going to be committee.
Yeah, it's gonna be a committee.
Like, I don't like the sound of that. I don't like the sound of that, but
it's going to be a chess match on Thursday. I think it's going to be more competitive than people think. When you think about CD, who lines up in the slot a lot, so you're going to have Cooper there on him, and then George Pickens is going to go up against Adoree', maybe Kelly Ringo. So there's potential for that, Dallas offense to get going. So we'll see.
I do like our linebackers. Like Zach Bond's great, and Jahad Campbell, I have a lot of hope for him. I think he's going to be good.
Yeah, looking forward to watching Jahad.
Down the middle of the field a little bit, but
for sure. Drew, what's your biggest prediction for Thursday? What are you thinking?
So I think our defense might have the Cowboys make mistakes, and we can take advantage of, let's say, any open interceptions that they may throw it at our way. I think that's always been our biggest asset, being able to recover from other teammates' mistakes, like I said, like we did with the Super Bowl against the Chiefs. They had like 3 interceptions, or more, maybe even more, and we were able to get 2 touchdowns, I think, off of them. I think we can apply that same type of pressure onto the Cowboys, considering the type of yardage that they had last season, and we can exploit it, get a lot of running touchdowns. I think also what Noah said, trusting Jalen Hurts more with the ball and seeing how successful he was, I think that will be also our advantage. We also got Cooper in the field as well, so I think that's going to be our asset.
Yeah, winning the turnover battle, that's going to be important. All right, fellas, want to wrap it up. Want to talk just about season predictions, starting with Ray and Jeremiah. You guys touched on it a little bit, but want to hear more as far as what you think the record will be for the Dallas Cowboys at the end of the season and what you expect as far as playoffs, not making the playoffs. What are your concrete predictions for the Dallas Cowboys this year, record-wise?
I have them at 9 wins. I think there's too many unknowns.
Is that 9 wins in the playoffs, Ray?
I don't think 9 wins gets you in.
Right.
I'm thinking you need 10, but I have them just missing the playoffs. And basically, I just think there's too many unknowns, a lot of young players. They're trading of Parsons, how that's going to impact things with guys that's pro Parsons and guys that wasn't, if that's a thing or not. So I just think it's a lot of unknowns. So I have them about 9 wins and just missing out on the playoffs.
All right. What do you think? What are you thinking, Jeremiah, record-wise?
I think we're probably around 7 wins is what I would say. I think Parsons, and I told Chuck that I think Parsons was good for 1 or 2 wins, just off the strength that he's Micah Parsons, and without that, the Eagles know this. We know this. We have a tough schedule this year, and we play some really tough teams. And if I can go down right quick with them, like let's say optimistically, you split with the Eagles, you split with the Commanders, and maybe we beat the Giants twice. But there's a lot of good teams. Like we're playing the Chiefs. It's going to be a really tough game. The Broncos are a tough team. The Jets have a really solid defense. I think the Bears are going to be much improved. The Lions are going to be hungry. The Vikings won a lot of games last year. The Chargers had the number 2 defense in the league. This is a tough schedule. And like I said, there's too many unknowns. Like I don't think we're going to be able to run the ball unless I actually see it. We also can't necessarily stop the run. And no matter how great your offense, let's say we had an elite offense. I think the Bengals showed you that an elite offense with not a good defense gives you about 8 wins in this league. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I think that I don't see us making the playoffs. I just can't quite see it. I think we're probably going to finish as the third best team in the NFC East. Barring injuries, the Eagles should win the division. Honestly, if the Eagles don't make it to the NFC Championship game and they're healthy, it would probably be considered a pretty disappointing season.
I hate
So
when
I
you do
expect
that. You know I
it's
hate
just
when you do
true.
that.
It's just true. It's true. If you ask those Eagles players and we stay relatively healthy and we don't at least make the NFC Championship game, is that not a disappointment? It is. Especially
Absolutely.
if
I
Saquon stays
agree.
healthy, it's good. I think the Commanders, will be good. I don't think their record is going to be as good because they had like an 83% clip of like going for it on 4th and 2. They won a lot of one-score games.
Yeah.
I think they will be good, but I don't necessarily think they'll be 11 wins good. But I do think they'll still have a better record than us. So I'm thinking around maybe 7, at most 8 wins. I think the offense is going to put up some points. But honestly, with 2 draft picks in the next 2 drafts, maybe it's not too bad. Maybe this is when we start to think about rebuilding. But unfortunately, with Jerry still alive, I don't know if Jerry believes in rebuilding.
That's awesome.
All right. Well, that was a lot of fun, fellas. I appreciate you guys for coming on. We're going to wrap it up, but good stuff. I encourage you to be optimistic. Keep your heads up. Ray and Jeremiah, you never know with the NFL. Every season's different. Every team almost has a chance. So it'll be interesting to see how it plays out, but looking forward to Thursday's game. Looking forward to talking to you guys about it. And
one more thing. I do want to hear Troy's, and I see Noah's too. I want to hear you guys' prediction. You too, Kobe, for the Eagles, real quick. For the season.
My prediction for the season?
Yeah.
I think they win 12 to 13 games.
Yeah, I had them at 12-5.
How far are they going in the playoffs?
Yeah.
Super Bowl.
To Jeremiah's point, if they stay healthy, I expect them to go back to the Super Bowl.
Okay. How about you, Noah?
If they don't go back to back, then I'm going to be upset.
My man.
Wow.
Make that 3.
Kobe and Drew, what do you guys think?
Same thing. I think we talked about this on the first episode. I think mine was like 12-5, 11-6, whatever.
Yeah, sorry to cut you off, Drew, but like the Cowboys, they have a tough schedule. I don't think they'll get 13 wins like they did last year, but they'll get 11 or 12 wins. Probably win the division, and yeah, we expect them to make the Super Bowl. That's the standard they set. That's what we expect.
Yeah, and I've said it before that the Cowboys are a tough team. Like they are. And
I agree.
This is going to set the tone. This game is going to set the tone for, I think, the season.
I agree with that 12-win total. Again, I'm a little bit of a pessimist. I just feel if they get home, if they get home field advantage in the NFC Championship game, I think they'll go to the Super Bowl. I think if they have to go to Detroit, and Detroit's weird because they play the whole, all their starters the last game of the season every year. They're going to play hard. Eagles might be resting people at that point. But I think
Detroit
if they get home
question marks also.
Yeah, they
Detroit
do.
has some question marks too. So
I think they may
two
be
new coordinators.
That's true. I just think if they have to go in Detroit and that team's pretty hungry, and I'm not saying the Eagles aren't hungry, but if they go to Detroit and have to go to the Super Bowl, I think it may be a tough ask. But if they're playing in Philly, I expect Philly to win. But I'm in that 12 win area as well.
Do you think
I didn't mean to cut you off earlier.
I was just going to ask, do you think that's their biggest competition in the NFC, Detroit?
No, Packers. I think Packers are good, but I think I think Detroit will probably rise to the top in that division. I don't think. And we can't forget about the Niners as well because they got a super easy schedule. They're getting some help. They're getting some help back, so they're going to be tough. But in that division, I think it's going to be the whole division is tough. Packers, Chicago, that's a real tough division.
So I got a sleeper team for you. I think it's going to come down to Philly and the Rams. That defense for the
Yeah,
Rams is
that
legit.
defense of the Rams, yeah.
That defense for if Stafford can stay healthy, because he's having back issues, but that Rams defense is legit.
Yeah.
You know, I don't
Yeah.
trust Detroit. You know, there's something about them.
Really
So,
interesting.
but I think the Eagles. I think the NFC is not as strong as the AFC this year. But I think the Eagles are the strongest team in the NFC. So good luck, fellas.
Love that. Love that, Ray. Thank you.
Listen,
I hate to say it, man.
Ray's the king of
to say it.
jinxes, man. Don't trust what he says.
Well,
I
listen,
take that back.
like you said, this is not one of those podcasts where you're
Right.
bashing and all that. But seriously, like I gotta keep it real. You guys got a legit roster from defense to offense. You guys got it all. So, barring any injuries, I think you guys got a good shot for back to back.
One thing I tell Chuck all the time, man, I wish I had Howie, man.
Yeah.
You guys it must be nice to have an adult in the room as a GM.
Yeah.
It must be nice to have a guy who he's gonna go for it too. Like sometimes you swing and you miss, but I'd rather have a GM that's actively trying to make my team better, who is willing to give up draft capital now to go for it now than what I have now. So like Howie, you guys go as far as Howie goes. Like if something's not working by week 7, you guys are gonna make a change. You guys are gonna make some type of trade. Howie's not gonna just sit there and just take it. So I think for you, like that it's great to have Howie as the guy who's like the chess master that's like putting the pieces in place that need to keep the engine running.
Yeah, we definitely don't take him for granted, Chuck.
I do.
No, I totally agree. I think that might be the one thing. I see me and Jeremiah, we agree on a lot of things, but I do agree with that. Sometimes I feel like he's trying to jinx my team with these high predictions.
Him and Ray. They're Cowboys fans. That's what they do.
It's just you guys don't go undefeated. It's a wasted season.
All that aside, we definitely, as Eagle fans, don't take Howie for granted, and we don't take you guys for granted coming on the show and giving us your takes, giving us your company. So we appreciate it, Jeremiah.
Thank
and
you,
Ray.
guys.
Hope to have you on again for sure at some point during the season to talk football. But with that wraps up this week's edition of the Cheesesteaks and Takes podcast. Make sure you guys follow on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. Rate it 5 stars. Let us know what you think. And follow us on social media. With that, have a great night. Go Bird.
Birds. Good boy, fellas. Thank you.
All right, thanks.
Thank you.